Y'all, I'm going to jump into another groomer segment. So Matt Walsh, one of the biggest groomers in, I don't know if he's in mainstream media per se, but in very prominent media circles. I don't know. I consider any like media outlet that has billionaire funding, I think that would be the definition of mainstream. I don't know. That's my opinion. But Matt Walsh is someone who says that all LGBTQ people are groomers. But many, many times this guy has said very strange things on subjects like the age of consent in this country. Many, many times. And so we have a couple of videos here I want to play that I want to go into. And I want to click this. So these are some videos from Matt Walsh that were posted by the Serfs on Twitter. Good find from the Serfs. I will say this. I have the Serfs blocked typically, but these were sent to me. I don't like the Serfs. You know, if anyone wants to know why, I wouldn't mind telling you, but I don't want to make this video about my dislike for them. I think they're garbage personally, but that's my opinion. Either way, good find from them. Let's watch this very strange video of Matt Walsh sitting in a car on the side of a highway, it seems, some major road, sitting on a car, talking about the age of consent and how confusing it is. Now, again, I know, like, sitting in the car is, like, a video motif. I get it. But, like, imagine, like, having, like, you just can't wait. You just had, like, a banger thought about the age of consent that you had to pull over on the interstate to get it out. Let's watch.
Minds, we have really two categories. There are non-consensual sex, which is bad, and then we have consensual sex, which we think is always good. That's what the culture says.
Okay, so first of all, we're 10 seconds in. First of all, who is we? I don't know who we is, and I don't know who the culture is. But I will tell you this. I have had quite a few consensual sex experiences in my lifetime. And I'm sure that anybody who has had a few consensual sex experiences can tell you not all consensual sex is good. Does that mean it's not consensual? No. Does that mean it's rape? No. But I've had lots of consensual sex experiences that aren't that good. Sometimes they're mediocre. Sometimes it's just like, sometimes, whatever. So the idea that, like, this guy is going to present this as if, like, everyone loves having consent, like, the act of consent is what makes it hot. Like, no, the act of consent is what allows you to continue. But anyway, let's continue.
A lot of us have, most of us, it seems like that's the idea that we have. It's like, as long as there's...
Now, again, I have talked outside of, like, virgins and pedophiles, and I'm not trying to throw virgins and pedophiles in the same category. I'm just saying pedophiles enjoy lack of consent, and virgins, they just don't have enough experience to comment on the issue, right? So I'm not trying to put them in the same category. But outside of virgins and pedophiles, I think everyone who's ever had consensual sex would agree that not all consensual sex is good, okay? Like, this idea, like, I don't know, man, who is out there saying that, yes, all consensual sex is the hottest thing in the world? No one has said that. Everyone I've ever met who's had multiple, rounds of consensual sex has told me, yeah, every once in a while, you find someone, you might think it works out, but, maybe it's mediocre, maybe it's not so good, whatever. It's, there's a multitude of possibilities. But, like, this idea that, like, the culture, what is the culture? I don't know what is the culture? I'm not sure. But again, anyone who would have a differing opinion here would fall into the category of virgins or pedophiles. And again, those are not the same things, just to be ultimately clear. But I don't know what the fuck this guy is talking about. I don't know where he got this from. I'm an ultra left-winger. I'm a super left-winger. I am such an SJW that, like, those SJWs you were seeing in 2016 with the red hair, I'm like, that's like the larva form of Cell in the Dragon Ball series, and I'm like the perfect Cell version of the SJW. So,
consenting adults who choose to do this thing, then it must be okay. But the reality is that there's a lot of bad sex. There's a lot of immoral.
oh, whoa! Breaking news! There's bad sex. Wow. This guy is coming out here and telling us the truth. Not all sex is great. Whoa! Whoa! Earth-shattering. But again, it's not bad sex for the reason you think it is. It's not bad sex because someone comes too early and then falls asleep. No. It's bad sex because God classified it as immoral or some stupid shit. Let's check this out. Let's find out why the pedophile thinks it's bad sex.
Bad sex. There's a lot of immoral sex. There's a lot of disordered, gross, harmful sex that is nonetheless consensual. All of
Whoa! Breaking news! Again. Breaking news. Breaking news. Whoa! No one's ever heard this theory before.
Cases that I mentioned, all the cases I mentioned, they're all immoral, bad, gross, harmful.
Now again, what is immoral here? Bad? I've had bad sex. Gross? I don't know what gross even means. I don't know. I've never really engaged in a sexual experience where I'm like, ew, that's gross. But I mean, I'm sure it's possible. You know, if someone like, pukes, during a, whatever, it's possible. I've never experienced it. Harmful? I don't know. Sometimes I like harmful sex. Hey, I'm just saying. Harmful sex sometimes, most times, harmful sex, pretty good. I'm just saying. But let's continue.
Immoral, bad, gross, harmful. But they're not all rape. Some of them were. Not all of them. And until we acknowledge that there are other ways to have immoral sexual relations with a person, until we reclaim sexual morality and sexual boundaries, we will be stuck trying to condemn all bad sex on the grounds of consent.
What is this guy talking? Like, what does consent have to do with this? What does consent have to do with any of this? Why is he bringing up consent? Well, the answer is because in this video, he's going to defend pedophiles. That's the answer. This video, and the whole reason he pulled over on the side of the interstate was because he had such a huge, amazing idea of I finally figured out how to defend the pedophile, right? By confusing what consent means. Consent just means, all right, do we both want to fuck? All right, great, let's fuck. And then whatever happens after that happens, right? But consent is ongoing, right? So if you consent, all right, let's fuck, and then someone's trying to fuck you somewhere, you don't want to be fucked, and you say, hey, please don't fuck me there, and they do it anyway, then the consent is violated, right? So consent is an ongoing process. But again, you can consent to sex and then, not really enjoy it, but you want to finish it, or, whatever. That's a thing that's happened, I'm sure, to many people. But again, that doesn't mean the consent is a fundamentally bad rule of thumb. And what is his argument? The argument is he wants to confuse what consent is. Consent's not really that important. You ever been raped and then you secretly like it? Huh? What?
Which expands the idea of consent so broadly as to render it meaningless, so that when we really need it, when there is actual non-consensual sex happening, we don't have any meaningful way to describe it, because the word consent has become is increasingly means nothing.
What? Okay. So, what, again, what is this guy saying? I mean, again, this is the guy who's pushing all LGBTQ people are pedophiles and groomers, and he's pulling over on an interstate to defend a pedophile Republican, and the way he's defending him is by making consent seem confusing, because people can have consensual sexual relationships that maybe not all the time is fulfilling. What? So someone can consent to having sex, and it's not the best sex they've ever had, therefore consent's the problem? Now again, there's only two groups of people, and again, they are not in any capacity similar other than the fact that they, in this specific instance, are together in their idea of not, fully understanding the issue. Virgins, they don't have sex, or they haven't yet, so they probably don't know what we're talking about. And pedophiles who love non-consensual sex. So, now again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Matt Walsh is a virgin or a pedophile, but based on this video, he's got to be one of them. Like, there's only really... Because this guy, like... Or a rapist, I guess. I guess that's the other category, right? Or rapist. But, like, what kind of motherfucker who's had many consensual sexual relationships is going to go out there and say, I don't understand consent? Like, tell me. I want to know. I'm striving for this knowledge. But anyway.
Because we've expanded it so much. And we've turned it into...
that red car was pretty close to him. Look at this. Like, where is he? Like, look back here. Look how close this red car is. Like, that's pretty close. It's not that close, right? He's not in danger of getting in an accident. But he seems like he's on, like, a highway that has, like, a really small shoulder. Why does he... Like, what the fuck's... Like, this was so important. Defending pedophiles was so important to him. Then he needed to pull the fuck over on a major road. He's almost getting hit here.
And we've turned it into this complicated equation where nobody really knows when consent is happening. And even if a person does something willingly and is like, yes, let's do this. But even that might not be consent because we've turned consent into this super...
Now again, I don't know who we is, but I think his usage of the word we is a little telling. We turned consent into some weird thing? I don't know about the we thing here, okay? I don't know about the we. Maybe you. But the we... count me out of that one, okay, Jack?
Confusing calculus.
So it's a... So the key phrase here is that consent is confusing. Consent's confusing. Is it? Is it? Is consent really confusing? Now again, anybody in the chat who wants to weigh in on this, have you ever had consensual sex where the confusion stemmed from consent? Like, I've had a lot of sex where I've been confused, maybe. Like, whoa, I never thought that, whoa. Maybe I've been confused a little bit. But the confusion did not stem from consent. I was not confused about consent. That was never the confusing part. Like what is the... I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, there's another video I want to show here. This is 4 years old. And this one is even weirder. Now, again, on the subject of pedophiles and groomers, this is a very strange clip. Let's watch.
So it's no surprise that Planned Parenthood helps cover up rapes, helps rapists cover up their crimes. We've known this. It's logically obvious anyway, because there is one incontrovertible way to prove that, for instance, a father has raped his daughter. But abortion gives the rapist scumbag father the means to destroy that evidence. And this is kind of the morbid irony of everything, is that the abortion enthusiasts will always cite rape and incest.
I love the term abortion enthusiast, by the way. That's like the best thing he's ever said. I'm an abortion enthusiast. I want more abortions. We have too many dumb motherfuckers on this planet. I'm enthusiastic. I want to be like... like the fucking like Flavor Flav of the Planned Parenthood. Like, I want to be in like the fucking waiting room, right? And being like, woo! When they're getting the abortions. I want to be like, yeah! Like, that's me. I'm the abortion enthusiast. Abortion enthusiast. Oh my God. Anyway, let's back up a little.
Everything is that the abortion enthusiasts will always cite rape and incest as proof that abortion is necessary. They're the ones always bringing up rape and incest, But abortion is also precisely the thing that empowers incestuous rapists to continue. Abortion doesn't...
Because the only way to prove rape occurred is by having a child at the age of 13. That's the only way to prove it. That's the only way. That's the only way. DNA evidence? Nah. Rape kit? Nah. Abortion is covering up rape. Like, what? Now, again, this is a 4-year-old video. The other one is like sometime this year, last year. You can tell because of the beard. He's been growing it out for a while. But again, if you ever meet a man, to all the women out there, if you ever meet a man like this, who's on the side of the road, now he's like behind a brick building. Why is he behind the building, parked in his car? I don't know. He makes frequent habit of like parking in really secluded locations for some reason. Very strange. But if you ever meet a man who's parked behind a brick building with a bunch of trees kind of like giving him camouflage, and he's in his car and he's staring out the windshield talking about 12-year-olds being raped, I recommend the fake phone number and fake address routine and get the fuck out of there as soon as possible. That's what I recommend. Whatever you need to do to get out of that situation, get out immediately. Especially to all the single mothers out there. Single mothers especially. You meet a man like this, they're not interested in you, okay?
Empower the victims, it empowers the predators. The victim has already been victimized by the time the abortion comes into play. Abortion is not going to erase that. All it's going to do is create another victim. But from the perspective of the rapist, abortion is wonderful, because it means that they won't be held accountable and they can continue raping.
Now, this is why rapists, quote unquote, continue raping. Now, again, real quick, do you remember when the 3rd police precinct in the city of Minneapolis was, quote unquote, burned down? Do you remember that? And then the Minneapolis Police Department made a big deal of all the rape kits were burned. The rape kits from the 1970s. We had rape kits and now they're all gone. But wait a second. Whoa, you had rape kits from the 1970s that are gone now? Rape kits from the 1990s? Rape kits from 15 years ago that were burned down? Motherfucker, why was there a rape kit in that police station for 40 years? What was it doing there, and why didn't you process it for 40 fucking years? You know what I mean? Like, what? No, the only way to prove who the rapist is to force someone who can barely handle a pregnancy to begin with to go through the pregnancy and risk death. To risk death for a child that, if that child is born, is most likely going to have a fucked up life. That's the only way to go after rapists. That's the only way.
Financially, rape is good for business. So maybe in that sense, actually, financially, rape is good for business. So maybe in that sense, actually, maybe I should backtrack. Yeah, let me take that back. I just gave Planned Parenthood a little bit too much credit. No, they do like rape. They actually do support rape, because rape is so good for business. It brings in money. And repeated rape, especially the repeated rape of a child by a family member, is extremely good for business because it's a sustained revenue source. So when Planned Parenthood looks at a pregnant, raped 13-year-old girl, all they see is dollar signs. They see a sustained revenue source, and they know they're going to get 3, 4, maybe 5 abortions out of this girl by the time she turns 18.
Now, again, just in case you didn't know, Planned Parenthood does a lot more than abortions. I think I read a statistic that about 2-ish% of what Planned Parenthood does. Now, again, what is Planned Parenthood? What is it? It's Planned Parenthood. Right? So about 2% of what they do are abortions. And most of what they do is actually help new parents raise their children. That's 98% of Planned Parenthood. I don't know about 98. They also do like LGBTQ stuff as well and all that stuff. So maybe not. But about 90% of Planned Parenthood is helping new, oftentimes young parents raise their children, giving them a little help, helping them with, with affording certain things, if their child has some sort of disease, to help them find what food is best for them, that kind of stuff. So I would say someone having a child and then going to Planned Parenthood and helping and being helped raise that child for 10 years theoretically is probably a little bit more of a stable revenue source. Because once you have the kid, the kid's alive. Once you have an abortion, again, just by this guy's logic, the chances of your child going from age 0 to 1 is more likely than someone being raped, having an abortion, being raped again, and getting another abortion. Statistically speaking, that's more, right? So, what? What?
And so that's a lot of money. Hey, it's Christmas bonuses for the entire staff.
So again, I don't like the serfs personally, but these are good videos that they're posting, and it's good propaganda to show why people like this are not an authority figure on anything. Consent is confusing? What? How is consent confusing? How is consent confusing? The only way for 12-year-olds to get peace is to raise a baby at the age of 13, 14? That's strange. That is strange, very strange stuff coming from the guy who's going to call people like me a groomer. I'm a groomer now, apparently, because this guy said so. This guy said so. This guy is calling me a groomer. The guy who said 12-year-olds need to be forced to carry out pregnancies, and that consent is confusing, and that age of consent is confusing. This is the guy who's going to call anyone else a groomer. Okay. All right, sure.